Hey, Bhargavi. Hi, hi Vinod.
Hi, evening.
Hi, hi everyone. Good evening. Welcome,
So,
welcome to the Freewheeling Friday without Karthik. So, all you Karthik fans, you have to put up with Vinod and me today.
awesome. Yeah, I think this is going to be a freewheeling session without Karthik. I think most of the times we are there, and Karthik's joining us as like an audience. He's charting us. Real time. He could have joined. Looks like he just wanted to see if we are up to this job or not. Looks like yeah. Hey, thanks. Karthik, I always do. Only today you could see from the other side. I look dapper. Or is that for Bhargavi? I don't know. Anyway, today I think we've put a lot of time to prep for the freewheeling session. So let's see. And surprisingly, as Karthik says, Bhargavi is on time because she's the one who's holding the production controls for today and running the.
So, I have no option than to be on time today.
Awesome, great. Great, Bhargavi. So, what's Karthik? You have any questions? Please shoot us. Just like the audience, right? You've got. You have to be more excited. We want more audience. Good. Thanks, Karthik, for joining us. Yeah. So, Bhargavi, what's up for today? Is there anything brewing inside, outside? What's the scene?
I think in terms of brewing insight, let's start with that, right? I think this has been one of the most hectic and fast weeks for us, I would say. Um, we are just having more business or more pipeline, more deals than what we can possibly fund. So, all the backers, please look forward to hearing a lot from us. And yeah,
So, I mean, Bhargavi is, figuring out the tool, Karthik. So, bear with us. She'll put your comments for sure, and we will also make sure to make cross comments on you. Don't worry, okay? And I think what Bhargavi was highlighting. That's the craze. I mean, the problem of plenty. I mean, is it a good problem or not? I don't know, but it's a problem of plenty. Where each of us are thinking. Okay, we should do this deal. And Bhargavi thinks, we should do ABCD deal, and Karthik says, we'll have to do this deal, and I'm saying, look, this deal is crazy, let's do this deal, and all three of us put together, right? We are like wondering, which deal to do, deal, frankly speaking, right? And yeah, problem of plenty, but yeah, hopefully, by next week, we churn the ocean, and arrive at some, interesting deals. Hopefully, I mean, it's a good place to be in, frankly, with the situation. But yeah, I think we'll arrive at the right decisions, and that will just show up. Are we good at making decisions or not? When everything suddenly appears, okay, you have a great set of deals coming your way. I mean, I'm excited at least for a couple of them. I think just time alone gives you good decisions. So I would be like just waiting, to really means. Yeah. Wait, that's cool. Got to keep laughing all the way and lolling all the way. Okay. And by the way, Karthik is going to meet Seema Auntie. That's why he's not on Freewheeling Friday today. Okay. For all the viewers, in case you want to know where Karthik is. Yeah.
that's good. So, Vinod, what's from your end? I'm sure you have lots to share. Going with the current trend of global and local IPOs and startup IPOs. So, I know you have lots to talk about that. But before we get on to that topic, anything else?
So, I think Bhargavi, so we're talking about decision making, right? So, I mean, we have so many deals. How do I make decisions, right? Like we were talking about this in our last Angel course also, right? So I realized, right, we keep talking about, after all data points, you make decision on your gut. So I just went out of, I think impulse, literally, and bought like three books on gut. the mind and the gut connection, right? I mean, I was like super keenly interested, and I want to, and I've just started the first book, very early days. Maybe I'll show the view, our audience, the first one. Maybe you can see. Yeah. So this is the first one I'm reading. I have actually got 3 books. So I'm just hoping to, hopefully share in the future sessions. I mean, how much of that is really, proven in terms of, some kind of science, and how much of validity is there for decisions that you make out of gut. I'm like keen to see, where this leads to in terms of insights for making decisions. How much is gut really important, right? We keep talking about gut decision. I made this with my gut, right? So let's see. That's like maybe next month, New Year holiday weekend. And that also reminds, tell the viewers, we're not going to be on the next week onwards. We'll only see you in January for the next freewheeling session. So it's a good reminder, Bhargavi. Yeah. So that's what I'm currently reading and thinking. What does that mean? And looking forward to the break more than anything else. Upcoming break, if you wish. Yeah.
But I think maybe next week we may have Karthik. So he's the man who should decide. Uh, well, Karthik says he's reading a book as well. I'm just going to show it here. So he's reading Delivering Happiness by Tony.
Tony Hish.
Oh, okay. So yeah, I was just Karthik. Okay, I can borrow that book once you're done, because I was going to buy this book.
No, I think I have had this book couple of times in my hand, read through a few pages, but not completed. But I've heard like great stories about Tony when he recently, passed away. Right, the amount of outpouring, for this gentleman, right? You could clearly sense, he was that kind of a figure. It's not about money, and it's not like, I think he's given so much back to people, and everybody was writing, obituaries, and feeling really sad that, including Anderson Horowitz partners, the Hustle Fund partners, some of the mentors, so many people, right? Like even Amazon, Jeff Bezos, some of the biggest tech icons in the valley, all of them are like, talking about Tony. I mean, that truly means he left a mark. I think it's in some sense, Karthik's good reminder to tell us, look, yeah, I think we should also pay it forward. And a lot of people have taken inspiration from him, both in across the world, literally. So I think great to remember him. And yeah, and delivering happiness reminds me of another thing, Bhargavi. Now that topic of delivering happiness is, we should put up, right? So last week, right, has been all about burgers, if you wish, delivering happiness in a different way. So maybe you should put it up. Burger King. I mean, I've been keenly following since the day Burger King came into India, and Everstone got that into India, and built it. Just they knew this is like a large possibility, right? So they just built it in like 4-5 years, if I'm right. If my memory is right, and went IPO, subscribed like crazily again. Crazy. I think 150 times, if I remember again. Right. And and suddenly, on the day of listing, it doubles, and what as of yesterday, it was tripled. It started priced at IPO priced at $60, I think, and went all the way to 200. And today, it's starting to fall. Some craziness, appetite in the Indian market. If somebody's saying there's no money to invest, come on, yeah, let's not joke, right? There's 1 lakh crore, sitting on possibly on, that particular IPO. People didn't get it, I'm saying, but 1 lakh crore of liquidity was available to come into the market, right? That's some indication of.
This is a lot of bankers' nightmare as well, right? This is what they call as leaving the surplus on the table, because nobody wants a pop like this, which means they could have priced it more.
Yeah.
So bankers don't want it typically. Uh, but yeah, this is also a good trend which is showing in India after we saw the trend in the US for in Doordash and Airbnb's IPO, right? So we see that here as well. So now I think this is a great setting for us to move to startup IPO, the topic of the day, for which Vinod has been preparing a lot.
Yeah, you should put Karthik's message, right? It says Mrs. Bector's 550 crore IPO. Karthik, this time I've applied. Let's see if I get a lot, right? Buy, sell, simple, advice. That's what, I don't see, point in IPO. It's like a nice, a FOMO game in some sense, public market FOMO game. This is at this stage. That's why the kind of bids that's happening. Yeah, Bhargavi, I think, yeah, today's topic, yeah, it's going to be tech IPOs, right? We're going to talk about tech IPOs, why is IPOs not happening for tech companies in India?
Yeah.
Okay.
It need not be just tech, but generally, I think, of course, mostly tech, but in general for startups as well, right?
Yeah. So this has been a perennial question. Right? Startup IPOs in India only counts, you can count by the fingers. The last one was India Mart. Prior to that, you had Just Dial. You potentially had, we had Make My Trip, right? Prior to that, and very few, you can count it by the fingers. That's the IPOs, especially in the tech space, that's happened in India. Quick Heal is one of them I can remember. The latest one being India Mart. Why is that there is a dearth of IPOs, especially in the tech space in India, after the first wave of Infosys, Wipro types of IPO in the services space, right? In the tech space, it's really not happened, right? Largely, it's been the regulation, right? In India, right? SEBI requirements saying you'll have to be more than 15 crore in profits for continuous 3 years, right? I mean, and imagine, what are we? Where do Indian startups, get even the biggest company in India which got acquired from an acquisition point of view, Flipkart, I mean, it's not 3 years profitable, right? So by nature, right, tech startups, because of the way they are growing, or way investors treated private investors, it's not going to go IPO in India, and they're not going to be profitable, so they can't go IPO. Like, that's like a challenge. So what's the way to address that, Bhargavi? I mean, any thoughts? What's the government done so far, and how do we move around this? Because there's a lot of talk going around now with the IPOs.
Yeah. See, I think as a first step, whatever has been proposed now, I think a couple of things are very important in what they have told, right? One is the main hurdle of how long you should wait or how long you should hold before you actually go for a listing. So I think that has been proposed to be reduced now. The second thing is for Cat 2 funds. Who look at IPO as a main exit route. There was a lock-in period of a year after a company goes public. Now that's getting changed, that as long as you have 1 year from the date of purchase of shares, then you're free to sell. I think that is very important because from a VC point of view, it's going to really alter the game or make it more conducive. I think it's good that something is happening. We know this discussion has been going on for some time. So, because I can see articles as old as an year, which talks about relaxation in Indian IPO sector or market for startups, right? But now is when we are seeing probably the draft. Hopefully, if this gets implemented in a year or so, I think it's good. But at least something is moving, so which is good start.
Bhargavi, I'm honestly skeptical. I'll tell you that, right? So the movement in the last 5 years, right, that SEBI is taken, right, they take a nudge, they do a small step. Examples of some of the smaller steps that they've taken, right, that's including the Emerge platform, called the ITP Emerge platform, especially for startups, right? Hardly any listings have happened. I'm saying nothing it's not like zero, but hardly any listings have happened.
Correct.
Emerge ITP is not like happening. BSE also has a similar institutional trading platform for with a 10 lakh lot size. To try. So I think, see, look, SEBI's perspective, or I mean, I'm talking about the regulator. Very, very, very looks like very clear, right? Look, I don't want to expose retail investors to this startup asset class simply because investors don't understand this asset class fully. So
True.
I think, if you ask me frankly, I mean, it's like we are dumping the intelligence of people in some sense. If they say, if you're saying, they can't understand, what's going on in a company if there's enough data that's being put out, right? Like, frankly, right? It's not a sophisticated asset class. We're not talking of derivatives and, complicated more instruments, right? We're saying, these are startups. There's a certain way of, these people growing in certain information, and there'll be people and look, for example, there are 10,000 angel investors in this country, right? Why can't 10,000 angel investors not trade? For example, if you create an ITP platform where 10,000 angel investors should be allowed to create, or you create an education series or platform, whoever qualifies, right, only allow them to trade, right? So the current, I think, the logjam is between, how do we open up for investors and with this 10 lakh limit, and the platform also is not active because companies are not profitable. So my always, I've been thinking, the radical solution could be, right, look, NSE or BSE, right, two biggest exchanges in the country, they are doing what they have to do because their hands are full, right? Their hands are full because they don't want to focus on, something. You have to start and grow it out, right? So fundamentally, I believe, we should have a platform which is a new exchange, which is like NASDAQ for India. It has to happen. Maybe, Bangalore could take that shot at it. Maybe some entrepreneurs or somebody, should think, okay, how do we get out and set up an exchange, a tech exchange for startups, for tech stocks, like had happened in NASDAQ. Some kind of a large, bold step that has to happen, with Bangalore as a center, because the problem can be understood in Bangalore way better, especially for what's the startup's problem, than, sitting out of, Mumbai or Delhi, is my view. Frankly, I could be wrong on that. But I'm just saying, by sitting closer, maybe, people can understand the problem that entrepreneurs face and startups face. And that could help, that's what I'm like thinking. Yeah, Raj is saying, Bangalore. Yeah, Bangalore. Maybe it could be Goa, Raj. For all go Goa. I'm happy as long as we get to a setting up of a startup exchange in some form or the other, right? Frankly speaking, so we don't have, the thinking process. Somebody who dedicates themselves, to think, how do we get startups to list in a separate exchange? Mostly what's happening, with the current exchange is lip service. I'm being critical here, I think, but I'm just saying, if you really want to have a vibrant startup IPO ecosystem with technology companies, somebody has to just think out of the box to set up a separate exchange for, tech companies. And initially, maybe again, this is another radical start. Like, if you are allowing angel investors to, invest in certain criteria based on, net worth and stuff like that, maybe, we put such criteria and only allow those people, or you go through a particular course or something like that, you kind of become an accredited investor to invest even in private exchange kind of a model, right? So I think that will be a landmark critical step where investor protection is also taken care, so that there is no exploitation of retail investors, but at the same time enough liquidity and a mechanism is put in place, for dealing with either private listings potentially possible, or tech or technology companies being listed, right? I think, these are two radical solutions. You'll have to just go out and make some radical changes if you want to get startups to listed in India. Without that profitability number and sitting on it, I think we are like still talking in 2023. Fairly, I promise, Bhargavi, we'll be in the same conversation. I can tell you. In 2015, I actually wrote to Zerodha's Nitin saying, why don't you do this, or like, I would love to see, if you can do this. So this is like the highly regulated space in the country, right? One of the highly regulated after banking, right? Probably exchanges are the highest regulated spaces in the country. We'll have to open up if you really want, startups to list here, and liquidity for VCs, and that in turn, is a virtuous cycle for all of us to benefit from. Yeah. So you can react. I think I've thrown in a lot of radical ideas
No,
here.
no. So that's what. So you have made it as controversial as it can be. This session, with all the comments. I was just reading a blog post by an uncle of mine yesterday, which was very controversial on everything to do with Kollywood, and especially a particular movie. I don't want to name it. So I think this is more controversial than that. But anyways, yeah, I am an optimist, and I believe that there is probably going to be more action in a year. So let's see how things progress.
Yeah. I'll be super excited if we can get a platform up and running. See, any company which crosses $100 million, right, potentially should have the option to explore an IPO. See, the current environment in the US are right, like people are.
$100 million in valuation, I
Yes,
believe.
yes, $100 million valuation. Yes, at least, even 50 million is fine if you ask me frankly, right? 50 million is fine. They should be able to explore an IPO route, and the governance also kind of goes up, right? So, which is also good if you do a public kind of a listing. Uh, I think that's a great sign if we can get to that kind of a liberalization. I think the liberalization of 1991 was from a different kind. This profitability question. Only allow educated investors, high net worth investors to invest in this, right? That's the good place to get started off, so that investor protection also is there. That's why I feel it's not controversial, because I'm saying allow only accredited investors to play in the technology stock exchange. Till people become comfortable.
Right.
The most common reason, Bhargavi, I've heard, for not allowing companies without profitability is saying that, Indian investors are not sophisticated enough to understand the
Right.
nuances of a technology, upcoming technology company in a new area, right? So that's the reason that's been, given. So we can try and protect that also if you see, yeah.
Got it. Yeah. So let's move on to next topic. Anything else on what caught your eye this week?
What caught my eye, apart from the burgers and there's a lot of these IPO conversations,
Burger and milk products.
yeah, burger and milk products is better, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, but Bector is slightly different. I thought, maybe they're supplying to all these fast food chains. They supply what you call sauces and whatnot is what I creamy. That's what I thought. Maybe they do a dairy also. Okay, maybe I've not seen it. Yeah, interesting. Yeah. So that's fingers crossed. Just buy, sell. Anybody who's looking to, I'm not advisor. Don't listen to me. Okay, disclaimer. Yeah. So what caught the eye, Bhargavi, is right, a lot of transaction. I think one which caught my eye is private PE players getting into doing startup deals, right? One of the deals, right? I think we spoken about this, called Lead Squared, which got funded by Gaja
Yeah.
Capital, the Series B deal, right? There are no big VCs in that, right? Apart from Jyoti Bansal, who's Jyoti Bansal is a well-known founder from App Dynamics, and he's funded them, Stakeboat, and then you have Gaja Capital. This for the first, maybe this is not the first transaction, but it's starting to feel like PE also is like wanting to play VC in some sense. What's your take on that?
I have been seeing this trend even in a couple of other transactions, but I knew about this skateboard transaction long back, right? Even before it got announced. So I think in terms of this, the trend is coming, and but only thing is, I have always felt the reverse, the ulta. VC is wanting to go and start playing bigger P kind of games, and the lines thinning from here to there. That's what I have always felt, right? Because there are PEs who play still in typical Series B VC kind of play, right? That round size, the turnover size. I felt that VCs are now looking at companies which are probably going to be more conducive for a PE, but VC is taking a pie in that. But you are right. Now we are seeing couple of transactions which is happening in the reverse side as well. So
Yeah.
I think very soon the lines are going to thin, and we are seeing VCs globally who wants to short startup company valuations of other VCs. So I think it's just becoming more interesting.
Yeah. I think this is one transaction, right, that we spoke about. There is other transaction that you mentioned about also, right? A larger PE wanting to invest in a brand, right? That's another story that we've discussed. It is starting to either, maybe, PE feels, I don't know. Again, you'll have to ask a PE player. They want to get early and capture value. And All these years, they were playing slow, and they used to come in after Series D, Series E kind of transaction, like the big boys. Now they're willing to come at Series B, right? That means, again, that there's so much more competition than, again, it's starting to look like, VCs obviously play in B, C, right? And now you have, if more Ps come into play, that's going to be even more liquidity, which is in a way good only, if you ask me, frankly speaking, right? There is always a struggle for venture firms to go from C to A, and then B onwards, it becomes more difficult because there are a limited number of players only who can give you B and C kind of checks, right? So
Correct.
then you are left with fewer choices. And if PE also starts to play a role in this, right, I think it's good for the ecosystem at a larger level, because there's not enough cash in C currently. I mean, that's a good thing, at least for India. I feel, it's a good, interesting.
Not only that, the lens at which a PE looks at a firm is very different, right? And they look at fundamentals and building for IPO kind of events more, which is again good for the ecosystem, because then probably more and more firms will become eligible to do IPO. And we will probably start seeing better statistics in India in terms of startups doing IPO.
Yeah, awesome. That's another thing. So Lead Squad caught my eye for sure. And the last thing I want to leave with is Pubmatic IPO, which happened. I think, I don't know if you discussed this last week, but that's another interesting conversation. We got listed in on Nasdaq, and it's an Indian technology company, for all you wish, right? It came out of India. Yeah. Uh, so that's another story. Again saying, IPO is not happening in India, but people are getting listed in a foreign company. Yeah. So Sham, thanks Sham. Sham says, we'll go towards supporting your cause of a startup exchange. I hope whoever has to listen is listening. I'm willing to spend more time on this. It feels like a cause. I have been wanting to. I've been espousing since 2015. Why should we not participate, right, in a Flipkart IPO? Which is likely to happen on Nasdaq, and we are Indian consumers, driven by started by Indian founders, and all the value is in India, and it's going to be getting listed in the US, and the wealth is going to be created for investors who have access to that market, right? I think if wealth creation has to happen in this country, right, like you have to give opportunity for our investors and Indian investors to also invest in when an IPO happens here, right? Like, for example, Flipkart is going to be a classic example. All value in India is going to get listed somewhere else. Very few people have access to US markets out of India who are going to kind of benefit, right? So that is the real reason, in some sense. Yeah, this is not the East India Company reason, which is that is not the one. Yeah.
Another thing which caught my eye is Pagar Book. So I feel the madness has not reduced at all in the SME solution funding space. This is crazy in my view. So it's probably good as well, because it just shows so much conviction with large VCs.
So what's surprising, Bhargavi? Yeah, about Pagar?
It is just a shortness in the frequency, right? From one round to the next round, and the leap which has happened in that period of time. I think in some sense it is probably sooner than what happened with some of the other companies which operated in the SME space. So it just shows, again, the conviction and the opportunity which probably people are expecting in this space. So I know we are also exploring something in this space. So let's just see how our firm performs.
Yeah, I think this SME digitization has been a very interesting game, and suddenly it's like a hot trend, right? You had Katha, you had Dukan, you have Pagar. What is next? Is an interesting question that everybody will be asking. I'm sure something more is there, because there's crazy amount of SME players. So many things, not in the digital space today. especially learning also opportunities for learning in the SME space, right? Like if all the tech companies were focused on tier one India or so I sense this digitization is leading to something called micro courses also, Bhargavi. That's also in a space, right? We are looking at very interestingly, micro courses for not just urban millennials. For example, Raj is doing STOA. Shout out to Raj, right? He's doing STOA. This is like a mini power MBA, right? That he's doing. I mean, you don't need to do a full-time MBA. Basically, he's telling, just do this for a, 12-week course, I'm thinking. And, you know everything, So that, I think, is what the new age phenomena, which is partly also driven by COVID, I think, I think I sense a lot of potential opportunities there, which is this SME digitization. Entrepreneurship also can happen, in that kind of a new route, which is being pushed by the likes of Raj and other entrepreneurs. Yeah.
Yeah. SMEs are nothing but entrepreneurs. So, and with the numbers which we are seeing, we are just saying there are 20 million entrepreneurs, 40 million entrepreneurs in the country. So I think, it just, but it's mind-boggling the amount of funding which has been going into this space.
Correct. So I think I think people may think COVID is a interesting inflection point for SME digitization, because SMEs who refused or were not adapting, that was a big complaint in the ecosystem. COVID maybe just made the SMEs and their entrepreneurs also realize, look, we have to do it. We can't go meet in person now. They just realized this is the right time to get started. Once somebody gets started, right, the inertia goes away. And I think the inflection point is already there. Looks like that's the reason for this large funding action in the SME digitization space. I think exciting. That's a hot trend. Let's see, for this year 2020, SME digitization could be one of the trends. Yeah, maybe when we do Jan, we should discuss maybe interesting trends for 2020 as a point to look at. I know, Bhargavi, you're operating from the back end and all the without Karthik. Shout out to Karthik, because Karthik used to give us all sorts of answers also. And
Yeah, Karthik, good job on putting me in this place. Now I know how difficult your job has been. It's not been easy to monitor so many things. Great job, Karthik.
Yeah, I did volunteer for this exactly. Thanks.
Yeah, Vinod is generally very smart.
Great. I think that's about it, Bhargavi. I mean, if there's anything else
Yeah. So, because we are short of one more person to take screen space today and the time space, so we anyway planned for this as a very short session. But I think may or may not we may have a session next Friday. We will probably surprise you by having a session, maybe with a guest as well. But if we don't meet before that, then happy holidays, happy new year. We hope 2021 is a little calmer than or maybe more eventful in a more positive way than what 2020 was.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to step out, go eat at my favorite restaurants back, my favorite street foods, which I kind of miss. I think meeting people in general, I'm like absolutely looking forward. And Happy New Year and Merry Christmas to all of you. Look forward to see you in the new decade, right? I don't know if that's the new decade, right, Bhargavi? 2020.
Yes, it is. It is. Yes.
So yeah, we'll see you in the new decade, and have a great day. Thank you for all of you for joining us. Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye.